But you are about to decode him. You're about to expose him. You're going to understand what a principality, what a power, what rulers of darkness, and what spiritual wickedness in high places are. Maybe I should call this sermon "Kick Devil Butt." Maybe it's time to expose it and really come after it, because if I know that you are an enemy, then I'm not going to treat you like a friend. If you are a snake, I'm not going to look at you and pet you like you're a dog. If you're a snake, you're about to get your head cut off. The ability to do is deceive nations. Now it's time to kick some devil butt. Come on, it's time to take back what belongs to us. It's time to take back our family, take back our nations, take back our finances, because the hierarchy of God is slightly different than the hierarchy of Satan. So God works through government. The government of God has come. God works through government. I'm teaching you some good stuff today. God works through government. If you don't understand government, if you don't understand succession and lineage, then you're going to be out of position, and you're going to...
In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not.
You ready, guys? Say, bring it on, bring it on. Now, I'm going to give you stuff that's going to be very practical, but the reality is the church has really dropped the ball. We all have to take on some ownership, but we talk about revival here in America. But what controls this nation is through a principality spirit. Because principality spirits, I'm going to read to you again what they do. They exert influence over nations. The reason this is so important, because we talk about making a difference. Now, hear my heart. Thank God for the 50 souls that were saved. Thank God for the hundreds that are being saved. Thank God for the work that we're doing. But guys, we aren't doing a drop in the bucket. We aren't making a bit of difference hardly. Come on and let's get real with this thing. I talked about, why are you looking at me like I'm crazy right now? Why are you looking at me like I'm crazy right now? I'm crazy right now. We don't have influence. One guy gets up, Carl Icahn, and he makes a statement. He says, this is what you're going to invest in this. It shifts the whole market. Why don't I have one of you, a born-again believer, getting up saying, this is what we're going to do. This is what I'm going to buy up. Because we don't rule in places. The church doesn't rule. We don't rule in networks. We don't have ABC, NBC. We don't rule in politics.
Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him.
We aren't influencing every move. We don't rule in business. Show me one church that has a financial of $1 billion. One. Show me one. Apple did how much this past year, guys? Apple did about 30 billion. You said maybe 30 billion? Put half our churches together. We aren't doing 30 billion. We don't have power. Put half our churches together.
Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have.
Of $1 billion. Okay. The whole market, Renee, gets shifted because of one man's decision and what that man says. The devil is a lie. We aren't having revival right now. And I thank God for Reinhard Bonnke's ministry. We thank God for what just happened in Orlando. But only 2,000 people got saved, God.
There is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner that repenteth.
People got saved. There are millions of people in the city of Orlando alone. We aren't making a difference. If we made a difference, our church financials would say $30 billion. We aren't making
No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other.
We would have the influence. They know we'd have the power. They know we'd make the difference. God gave his son Jesus Christ, but the church has dropped the ball, because when the church picks up the ball and becomes who we're supposed to be, then we have the influence, we have the power, we're the decision makers, we have the money, $30 billion, and we possess the land. We're sitting on our street corners fighting each other. Come on, people fighting over 2 members going to another church. Are you crazy? If you're that desperate, take 20 members. I'll go win 200 more. If you're that desperate to build off another man's foundation, take them. I'll go in the strip club.
But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows.
I'll go in the strip clubs and raise them up. I don't care. I just dare to believe that in my lifetime, God, please don't let me die and not see a real move of God. We aren't making a difference. If we made a difference, our church financials would say $30 billion. God, please don't let me die and not see a real move of God. Please don't let me not see Jesus Christ be Jesus Christ and the church be the church. Only 2,000 people got saved, God. Guys, we aren't doing a drop in the bucket. We aren't making a bit of difference hardly. Come on, show me one church that has a financial of $1 billion. Only one. I give my life for the church to be the church until every one of you are empowered. The reason I have a problem with the church at large is because we have set up this systematic thing that usually makes one or two people successful.
Until I was in too deep to get out of it.
He's the first man I've ever had the audacity to entitle Daddy.
He's daddy to me.
I'll treat you like a queen, but I'm going to be the king. And he is King Jakes.
Well, all right.
And he is King Jakes.
It's not about one or two people being successful. We aren't successful. It is more than us having little buildings on a church corner with a few hundred people or 1,000 people. What are the largest churches doing? I mean, come on, financials are public. Joyce Meyer's ministry did about $180 million. I think Joel's ministry probably did $80 or $90 million, something like that. The biggest, that's nothing. TBN probably did a couple hundred. Billy Graham does probably about 50, maybe 100 million now. That is nothing. Apple, one thing, one product is doing $30 billion. And we think we're making a difference? We aren't having.
For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of God abideth forever. Little children, it is the last time. And as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now are there many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is. But
the only way that we show influence, you ready? Show me the signs of influence. It's a good sign, because the only way we see influence, you take a few people like Mark Burnett, Roma Downey, get saved, right? Take a few people like Mark Burnett, Roma Downey, get saved, right? They produce something called the Bible. Because they're not preachers, preachers come together. Because if it was a preacher that would have done it, they would have fought them. But because it's not preachers, they come together and they can mobilize them to at least show Hollywood, look, we have money power. Show Hollywood, look, we have money power. What they can show them. I give my life for the church to be the church until every one of you are empowered. God, please don't let me die and not see a real move of God. I give my life for the church to be the church until every one of you are empowered, until every one of you do what God has called you to do. Hollywood seeks to duplicate it. So they're looking for everything. That's why guys, why do you think they put me on the doctors? Why do you think they're putting me on Dr. Phil? Why do you think William Morse signed me? Because I'm the most beautiful. I'm cute, but I'm not the most beautiful. I'm not all that Hollywood. It's because they're going, okay, we don't know how to reach them, but we know that they're a market. And if that market ever gets mobilized, they're powerful. But okay, so maybe we've mobilized a tiny bit if we come together and make somebody else's movie successful. Is that really revival in America? That we made a couple movies? Oh, I know your pastor should have had more coffee. It's called a principality. We think we've done something big because we had one stadium gathering. There are 32 professional teams. NFL teams. What? How many of them fill out stadiums every week? Probably 25. All of them but the Bucks. Lord have mercy. We got to do something. Are you kidding me? We should be owning the stadiums, leasing them to the city, where the NFL has to get them back from us, and the networks have to franchise and pay for us to get airtime to do it. We got this thing backwards. Let the church be the church. Hey! But someone has to believe it's me. It's me. I'm breathing this thing. I'm living this thing. I'll give my life for this thing. God, I'm not going to let my life or my generation pass by and not see what I see in the Bible. And seeing what I see in the Bible is not praying over a couple people hoping that one of them gets a little bit better after a little bit of 100-degree temperature. No, I want to see the dead raised. I want to see when I walk down hospitals, there's no need for a hospital. Why do we even have hospitals? We believe in the supernatural move of the Holy Ghost. They didn't go do hospital visitation in the book of Acts. They laid hands on everybody. They cast out devils. Till we get back power, influence, authority, we're all under a principality. Every one of us live under a principality. You know what? I would preach this gospel so freely, but I'm under a principality.
And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them.
So you know what? I don't get to go. I don't have.
Again the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them, and saith unto him, All these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me.
I'm at the mercy of the people who have the network. So I'm at the mercy of the people who have the network. If the gatekeepers want to shut me out, I'm shut out. If they want me in, I'm in. When I sign their contract, I've got to do it the way they tell me to do. When I go on, they get to edit out what they want to edit out. They get to put in what they want to put in. You don't want me to be too real here. You want me to be really real? Even when I was on Christian networks with my own program that I paid for myself, if they don't like what you say, they kick your show off. Well, that's too much for y'all, I know. How are we going to do this thing? Until everybody lays down their personal agenda and picks up his agenda, show me one church that has a financial of $1 billion. Until everybody lays down their personal agenda and picks up his agenda, Shem, I want to buy $3 billion worth of stock and shift the market. You know what I'm going to do? Mr. Demings, I'll start a food business. We'll put Cisco out. I'm sorry for Cisco. Until everybody lays down their personal agenda and picks up his, we're all under the influence of a principality. None of us took it, Shem. I want to buy $3 billion worth of stock. Why are you looking at me like I'm crazy? Looking at me like I'm crazy. Well, let me shit. I have in my lifetime said some things I shouldn't have said. So everybody else, now you can get along and get on this train with Pastor, right? Maybe the reality is none of us here, please Lord, let one of us, none of us here, or maybe our ministry won't be a $30 billion ministry. One of the things that I love about my spiritual father, Bishop Jakes, 28 years, I've been around him in almost every situation. I've seen him in good times and bad times. I've been to dinner, I've been in their house, I've been in the intimate places, the outside, and I've never in my life heard him speak one word against anybody. Never.
I know you've been watching that junk on TV, and I want to tell you right now, not one dime of what you're sewing right now will buy my suit. I want you to know my car is paid for. I want you to know I got my house on my own. I want you to know I am not bling bling and I am not shaking bake. I had money when I came to Dallas, and I plan to have some when I leave. You did not buy what I got. I had it when I came.
Never in my life heard him speak one word against anybody.
The James Fortune Show, and I'm still joined on the line by Bishop Noel Jones. Bishop, we really saw on social media and Facebook and Twitter, a lot of preachers and pastors and bishops were coming out and basically saying, you know, I got what I got based on other hard work or other avenues. I didn't get what I acquired from the church, that I don't take a salary, and everyone's been real vocal trying to separate themselves. So, Bishop, tell me, how do you feel about that?
Well, I am not going to blast my friends, and I would never, ever be in a situation publicly where I would say anything that would cast an aspersion on any one of my friends. I wouldn't do that. But I would say this, that all of us, and not me included, because indeed and in fact I had my own businesses at 21, long before I ever became a pastor. But then I won't even argue that point, because I won't throw a cast an aspersion. But I would say this, that whatever the preachers have become, whoever did not have it before they became preachers, it was the initial seed from the congregation. If they sold books and the books sold very well, it was because they had shows that made them popular and somebody wrote a check for those shows to be made. If they became significant in business in any aspect, it was the initial money from people who loved them and respected them and was blessed by them, who gave them offerings that they managed well and they promoted themselves well, and they ultimately ended up turning back and say, well, I don't receive a salary. Well, they didn't start out not receiving salaries. They didn't start out not receiving offerings. They started out with a seed, and they used the seed with their popularity to become what they've become today. So at the end of the day, it all began with somebody giving you some money.
My name was brought up in his presence. They told me there was a group of preachers around, and what they were saying about me was actually true.